Hello and welcome to the first edition of Journalists Hangout. This week, I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. On the program today, President Buhari begged Niger Delta militants to stop attacking oil installations. Saraki Ekweremadu and two others were arraigned and granted bail over forgery allegations today. And later on the program, Finance Minister Kemi Adeosun opens up on the state of the economy. She says the federal government borrows to pay workers' salaries. I'll be joined by Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Tunde Abaton, and Lekon Shote to talk about these issues. So, if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Last Saturday, President Muhammadu Buhari pleaded with Niger Delta militants to soft pedal on the bombing and destruction of oil and gas installations in the interest of the country. With this rhythm change, one would have expected some level of calm in the region, but a new militant group, Niger Delta Sea Commandos, disagreed with the call. They said President Muhammadu Buhari must discontinue his pretentious plea and commence dialogue with stakeholders to avert more attacks. How soon can Mr. President begin this peace process? Julie, let me start from you. It's the president met with the leadership of the All Progressives Congress last Saturday, sometime last week, to break his fast. And the way the president was lamenting about the level of sophistication, the equipment deployed by this militant to carry out precision-guided attacks on our installations. And he was asking people to reach out to them, to talk to them. This is different from his earlier stand of we are going to crush them. Do you think the reality is beginning to dawn that military might not solve what we have in the Niger Delta?
Yes, and this is consistent with what some of us have talked to the president about, at least on this program, that it is not at all times that you resort to the use of force. You hear Nigerian soldiers say, no, we are ready to deal with them. They think that this is a war in which you actually have pitched battles. Pitched battles are easier to wage. But this is going to be a sophisticated type of guerrilla warfare. And the feeling really for those familiar with the region is that there are very few people involved in these bombings. Very few people involved. So how do you crush people that you do not even see? If it was a large army, yes, they cannot face the Nigerian army. But these are people that you hardly see. So, and you have more than 3,000 creeks in the Niger Delta. These creeks are largely inaccessible to the Nigerian army.
The president even expressed his fear that it's not even one group that they can reach out to.
The problem is,
they have...
see, let me tell you, the problem is, the moment we started acting like force is the way to go, more and more militant groups came up. So what we have now is a situation in which almost every week a new militant group.
Because what is Niger Delta Sea Commandos?
That's a new group. The Egbesu, there was another one that came up the other day. They called themselves Egbesu Sea Lion. All kinds of funny groups are coming up. And in my view, we do not need to resort to force. Once there's evidence of seriousness to engage these people, because whether we like it or not, there are concerns. Look at the Avengers. At least we are seeing signs in terms of their rhetoric. We are seeing signs that this time around they may be willing to engage in talks with the Nigerian government. But they are saying now that they want the president to even come down to the Niger Delta and see the sufferings that people are going through. They said, look, Ugborodo, which is the host community for Chevron's thermal station, export terminal, that the president should come and see the extent of devastation of that community. It's just an export terminal, and it holds the tank farm of Chevron. They are now saying that if the people are suffering as a result of having, hosting Chevron's export terminal and tank farm. How about the numerous flow stations? That is the same problem that those communities are facing. So you see that the more the Avengers talk in this way, the more they get converts among the ordinary people. Because you now see them more like, okay, they are fighting our war, they are fighting our battle, they are fighting for us. So what we need to do now is to switch the narrative and not cast these guys like heroes. Because if we continue to threaten them, oh, we are going to crush them, they are going to do this, we are going to do that, you are going to create more and more militants out of that part of the country. And at the end of the day, if this violation of our economic assets continue, the president is not a fool. He must have sat down to look at things.
The implication.
Oil output has gone down. We are not making money like we should make. So do you continue to show that you are a strong man, that you can do this, when you can see clearly? Because I said something that I want Nigerians to remember. I said, if I'm convinced that our military can deal a decisive blow to these people, I will support the military option. But I'm not convinced that they can do it. I'm not convinced. So why shouldn't we negotiate?
I'm
the
not
language
even sure
has changed.
Capability when it comes to amphibious.
No, they've never fought that kind of war in recent times. And look, go back even to history. During the Civil War, the battles fought in the Niger Delta area were the fiercest. They were the fiercest because of the nature of the terrain. That's the point. A soldier who has never seen big river in his life, you take him to that place to go and fight, he's going to find it difficult. So from saying that I'm going to crush them, our president has begun to beg them, he even said in the name of Almighty God that they should please stop this destruction. I am impressed that he is going for the option of peace. And I think that if the the Avengers, so-called Avengers, actually know what they are doing, this is they need to seize this opportunity. If it's just their people that they are fighting for us, they want us to believe, then this is an option for peace that they should embrace.
Grab the peace.
Nobody will gain anything by just destroying the ecosystem, you know. So
Tunde Abaton, it's more like something that happened in the past, and some set of people became billionaires. And billionaires, as in billionaires, big-time billionaires, having properties, Lagos, Abuja, choice properties in Port Harcourt and everything. And it was like a big compensation, and they collected some contracts subsequently. Now, these ones, with the proliferation of these people, if you are talking about Igbesu, you are talking about sea dogs, you are talking about Avengers.
Sea lions.
Sea lions.
Not sea dogs.
Okay, sea lions. There's a National Association of Sea Dogs that Buhari should begin to dialogue and stop begging. The militants are saying that, look, let's walk the talk.
Let's see the science.
Well, I think the basic problem we have had in this country is that to every crisis that we have in this country, all past leaders, they normally put a price on every Nigerian that you can buy anybody so far money is involved. And that particular strategy has actually not produced any result. What we have had is that we have succeeded in enriching people who are not necessarily fighting for the emancipation of their people, but they were actually fighting for their pockets. That's why you see a lot of them in the last 5 years, they have universities outside Nigeria. But for a change, to give them the benefit of the doubt, I think this time around, there has to be a holistic approach. That holistic approach is that let us identify and locate as many groups as possible that are fighting for the Niger Delta interest, which invariably is Nigeria's interest. Let us identify, because unless there is identification, when you meet with 2 or 3 a select group, after you finish that negotiation, some other groups will come up. Because people always believe that there's a price tag that has been put on people, and when you settle them, other people will evolve. So for a change in this country, the president has to put on the thinking cap and change the approach. Let us identify as many groups as possible, and now embark on actually solving the problem of the
how would they solve the problem of they've used hundreds of millions in purchasing this
No,
sophisticated
what we're saying
ammunition.
is that by
Now, when the federal government want to tell them to lay down their arms and everything, they will have to negotiate. We are going to put this down. You are expected to pay our money.
Well, if that is the approach, I am telling you, the next 20 years, the problem of Niger Delta will not be resolved. That's why I said there has to be a change of approach in terms of the modus operandi of the federal government.
But they must disarm
because
them.
if the money is what we use to give them to actually settle the problem, we have just started. Because people, you discovered that in the last 4 years, a lot of people have made billions. And why the government is finding difficulties that we have made billionaires out of those people who claim to be fighting for their people in all parts of Nigeria. The only thing is that the Niger Delta has come to the front burner because 90% of our resources we got from the Niger Delta. But I'm telling you, if we put money and financial negotiation at the top burner, we are not likely to get to the end of the crisis. Let us identify as many groups as possible, and let us see the conviction that they are actually fighting for their people. A lot of money was spent on this Niger Delta by President Yar'Adua. What have we got? At the end of the day, $600 billion have been released in the last 4 years. Nobody has seen anything in the Niger Delta.
Lekon, whose problem? What kind of problem are we looking at here? Because if some people are talking about, the bill for the Northeast Development Commission now, and we have NDDC, we have Ministry of Niger Delta, you know, we have
30%
derivation, and over time, we keep saying successive governments. What are we looking at here?
Well, first, let me even deviate a little bit. I think the press has a job to do. I would imagine that TV stations and the newspapers and magazines will carry their cameras to the creeks and show us really what is happening. Tell us the narrative, what is really happening.
It's terrible.
In these places.
It's terrible.
A lot of people in Lagos, in Abuja, probably don't really have an idea of what's really going on. You know, you understand, people will need to actually see, including the common man.
No electricity.
People should, on the streets, should see what is really happening.
It's terrible.
You know, and then you talk to the locals, the people who are on ground, not Abuja people who have gone to back home.
To play politics.
But people who are on ground, let them explain the narratives to Nigerians, to the world. So that why? So that we know precisely what the issues are. My thinking is this. If you engage a group of people and you give them money, another group of people, you give them money, I think you have not really looked at the issues. What are they talking about? Mr. President, come and look at what?
This Avengers.
At Ogborodo, yes. Come and look at what? The state of disrepair of the environment. Are we going to take adequate steps to address these issues? Are we going to take adequate steps to ensure that people go to school? Are we going to take adequate steps that to make sure that there are medical delivery facilities on ground? Those, you see, we need to start to look. We look at the big pictures. How about the individual citizen? What is his own take home? What is he looking for? There's something the Americans call the American dream. Is there a Nigerian dream? Are we addressing that dream? Can I say for certain that when I send my son to school and he graduates, he's going to pick up a job that he can live on his own without my having to support him and give him money for transport to go to work and money to eat when he gets to work? Do you understand? Those are the things that we need to deal with. It is not so much of sitting down with people. I mean, you can say that with as many people as you like and give them as much money. Hey, money has been spent in the past. Some people have set up universities. They have done well for themselves by being spokesmen of this same group of people. And they are native to Niger Delta region. And yet they have not delivered to their people. So government needs to look at a different template, another template. How do we deliver, you call it something of democracy. Dividends of democracy. How do we get it to the doorstep of the man on the street? That is the way to go. As far as I'm concerned, it's not so much about sitting down with people and then giving. You remember about 2 years ago when our military high command said they had a negotiation with some fake Boko Haram people. And the chief of defense staff announced to us that, oh, finally we have spoken to them. It was a hoax.
And that night, it was a bloody night.
Exactly. It was a bloody night. And then they now came, they say, you are bloody fools. Can you imagine the chief of defense staff made such an erroneous announcement to the whole of Nigerians?
I remember.
How would I trust that kind of person?
At the time, he even told Nigerians that he knew where the Chibok girls were.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so for me, my own take is that let's look at what is the common man at Ugborodo looking for. The common man at Focados, what is he looking for?
At Bonny.
At Bonny. The fisherman that can no longer fish. The farmer that can no longer farm. What are the alternatives?
Jide, it's so unfortunate that we've squandered the goodwill that we've had over years, especially government, and it's so unfortunate that we found ourselves in this kind of situation, because the truth of the matter is that this government cannot intervene financially in that region substantively right now. I don't know where they will get that money from. So it's so unfortunate. When we had this window when we were selling for 120 naira per dollar, the impact wasn't felt.
NDDC.
So what kind of situation is this?
I'm not impressed by our effort to demonize a few Niger Delta people that they made money. They are not the only ones who made money under a civilian regime. Dangote was not this rich before 1999. At least I know that. Otedola was a nobody before Obasanjo became president. So people will make money from the system. Under the same Jonathan enriched many people who are Yorubas, who were even richer than his own people. You know, all of them, the INAs of this world. He made them rich. So the reality is, let us do the right thing and forget individuals who used to be militants and who are now rich. They have a right to aspire to greatness. They have a right to get rich.
But it's not trickling down.
Nobody gave them the mandate to go and make their people rich or to go and clean up their area. It is the duty of government to now say, okay, why don't we now go to the creeks of the Niger Delta and try to make life better for people there? Because if you have lived in those places, you've been to those places before.
Terrible.
The poverty in the Niger Delta is worse than other parts of Nigeria. We must tell ourselves the truth. There are no roads. There are no roads. The people drink the same water that they defecate in, that they use to do their laundry. So the thing, when militant groups come up out of...
If you want to construct a road in Lagos, it's different from constructing a road in...
It's a lot more expensive. Even roads are different. So if you abuse them, they abuse the Dixons of this world, they are getting so billions, but they are not doing much. The cost of building a road, even in Port Harcourt, go to Port Harcourt, the cost of building a road in Port Harcourt, you can't compare to building a road in Lagos. It's a lot more expensive. That's why a Dixon, for example, will prefer to engage Julius Berger to build all their roads at a very, very expensive cost.
Because local contractor might not.
Because of the terrain. The terrain is really treacherous, and it compels you to spend so much more to execute projects. So we need to understand some of these things.
And the ecosystem.
If I'm a Yoruba man, I befriended a president from the Niger Delta, and I became a billionaire as a result. If I'm a Yoruba man, I became close to a Diezani, and I became very rich as a result. Am I better than Asari Dokubo? Will I have the moral right to say, oh, Asari Dokubo, he became rich and he started building universities in Benin Republic? Are there not people from other tribes who have even gone to Dubai to buy houses, as we are saying about our chief of army staff now? So the issue is, the moment
it's
government...
It's saved up, Jide.
The moment... I don't even want... It's all matter is for another day, you know. The moment we start showing signs that we really want to make the lives of these people better, and people can see clearly that we are doing it, even those militants will not have support from their.
So what do you advise
their
President
own.
Buhari to do now?
See, you know what the problems are. In the past, we've had committees set up about Ogoni land. How many of the reports have been implemented? Even until this government came, the talk about cleaning up Ogoni was gas to most people. If the government will come up with a show determination to develop that area,
And it will take 30 years.
Community, it is not something that they can do in one day. You start cleaning up the area, you start giving them infrastructure that they never had. You change the thinking of the people. Even the so-called militants will not gain support among the ordinary people. Because look, I have friends who are from the Niger Delta. The reality is, a lot of them are not pleased with the Nigerian nation. Let's tell ourselves the truth, because they think that they've been neglected over the years, despite the fact that our oil earnings came largely from that area.
I wanted to, okay, Tunde Abaton, these people, this agitation just skyrocketed. Immediately, President Muhammadu Buhari emerged. There was graveyard calmness in the region for 6 years of Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. And I can't testify that he, what he did in that region that's so outstanding.
Well, I think the problem
becoming political.
What we have to look at Nigeria is that at any point in time we have any leader from any part of the several nations that make up Nigeria. You cannot remove the brush of tribalism and ethnicity out of it. People still see somebody who represents them as representing them, irrespective of whether he has done anything for them or not. When you go to the Niger Delta, like we have been saying, we have the military government created OMPADEC. And under civilian government created Niger Delta Development Commission. Then we have 13% derivation. At the end of the day, we have not seen anything. So the best thing for President Buhari to do is to let us shed our toga and decide that we want to start afresh. And go back to the people and see how we make sure that the resources to develop that area gets to the real people instead of what we have had. Except we do that, we continue beating about the bush. Next time...
Let me quickly take this call from Patricia. Patricia is calling us from Lagos. Hello, Pat.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us, Patricia.
Thank you very much.
All right, go ahead.
I'm very interested in this program, and I would like to thank all of you for your contribution.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you very much.
I'm particularly impressed with Babajide. I like his frankness. I wish most Nigerians can be this frank like him. I'm not from Niger Delta. I've never been there, but what is going on. If the government can listen to him and implement, then Nigerians like us, we're all Nigerians, and follow this advice to the letter, I think that will be the end. People have been asking how would they end militants in Niger Delta. What he has just said now will end it. That's my contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you for your contribution, Pat.
So unless we have a holistic approach to re-identify what are the major problems, what are the obstacles preventing government resources from actually being used to develop that area, then we now look at a rainbow coalition of militants that are in that area. Because except you do this, whatever measure you bring out again, it will end up in the wrong hands without being used for the interest of the larger masses in the Niger Delta area. Next time when another Yoruba man becomes president, you will hear agitation from the north. So we have been moving in a vicious circle in this country. That is why those people are calling for restructuring. When resources, 50% of the resources should go to any region. That is how to resource. The Minister for Finance was saying this morning that Kebbi State made up their mind that we don't have any idea than growing rice. That now, today, what they do in Kebbi State, the government is to encourage farmers to grow rice. So if it is cocoa that people are from those states, you can restructure without necessarily going to the constitutional conference. Yes. Restructure yourself. People of those states, let us devote more energy in producing cocoa. People of
get all the support.
All the support. If it is
All
fish in Lagos State, and if it is fish that you can have in abundance, you can decide to say we want to feed the whole of Southwest or the whole of Nigeria with fish. You can decide to do that. If it is cassava that Osun State can grow, let us concentrate all our energy in growing cassava. If it is groundnut that people can grow from the north, so they will not stop looking at oil. From
everybody, you see, it's a matter that puts me to shame as someone who was born in the north, and I've visited all but one of the states in the north. The only state I've not visited is Taraba. The groundnut pyramids that made Kano popular no longer exist.
It was money from
in fact, where they used to stack those, groundnut bags on top of one another, what they do there now is wash clothes. They now call it filling wanka. That is feed for washing clothes. Because we all abandoned agriculture and everybody was looking for oil. You know, people, if you have a friend in government, if your friend is the president, you ask for oil block. You have from oil block will catapult you from nothingness to something big in Nigeria.
Very big.
You see, it is in Nigeria, it is governments that make people rich. I remember some time ago when we interviewed Dangote that want to contest for presidency of Nigeria. He said, me? That the day I choose to contest for president of Nigeria, the government of the day will ruin me. And he said it clearly that government can make you in one day and destroy you in one day. So he knows what he's talking about. Because we know how Dangote was before 1999. So that is the thing. Once your friend is in government, he gives you oil block, you become really big. A lot of those people who got oil blocks, what were they doing? One of them, who was a former Nigerian general, he sold his oil block to Chinese for $4 billion. So you think
at the first time, he said he had $500 million.
No, tell me how you expect the Niger Delta man to be feeling. People can attack them because somebody is building a university in outside Nigeria. You can say all of that about them, but somebody got oil block. Somebody got oil block and sold that oil block for $4 billion. Sadi Dokubo has not gotten oil block yet. All right. If he gets it, he deserves to get it.
All right. Ayuba is calling from Niger State. Hello, Ayuba.
Hello.
Yes, Ayuba. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Ayuba.
Yes, my regards to Babajide.
Thank you.
Yes, I want to greet Babajide.
Yes, Ayuba, I can hear you.
Yes, I want to say, give you my point of advice that Nigeria should not depend only on Niger Delta people. Because actually, they are really killing us. After this dialogue, I believe we should do something nice. We should go on agriculture.
Yeah.
And secondly, we are so much dependent on. We don't have in Nigeria is that we don't have plans for future of currency. All we believe on what happened, we sit on it. We should try and encourage and plan on future currency.
Thank you, Ayuba. Thank you for your contribution. All right, when we return, Saraki Ekweremadu and two others arraigned and granted bail today over forgery allegation. But how did it go? Please stay tuned. Senate President Bukola Saraki, his deputy Ike Ekweremadu, and two others were arraigned this morning over two-count criminal charge of conspiracy and forgery. Unlike the rumor of a purported plan to detain the number 3 man and his deputy in Kuje prison, both of them presidents. Gentlemen, looking at the implication of this whole thing, we're not talking about the trial today or the merits of that particular trial because it's going to be sub judice. We're looking at how the tension has been, the the rising tension between the executive and the legislature? Let me start from you, Lekon. It's a tricky one.
You know, well, we all know the build-up. But we also know that about 2 weeks ago, the PDP members of the Senate, they say they have no confidence in the president. And then a group in the APC now came up and said, wait a minute, we have confidence. It's a back and forth. If you ask me, it's essentially a political issue. And I think people are strategizing, if you like. And I think a case like this is probably one of the instruments of achieving whatever it is.
Do you see this government making like progress in terms of whatever synergy with the National Assembly with this kind of case at hand?
Well, Senator Adeyeye, I think, was saying that you can bet your life on it. Nobody's going to impeach or remove Senator Bukola Saraki in that house. That he has support 101% of everybody in that house, regardless of whether they are. And he did the arithmetic actually, and it looks like, there's no way anybody can get rid of that man. As at today, the game may change tomorrow morning, but as at today, it's a very
quickly, Abaton, do we need this kind of distraction? Our economy is not doing well right now. All is not well. Inflation is hyper in Nigeria, and we have economic problem, and we are in between economic recession.
Well, at any point in time, whenever a leadership or a nation decide to do things right, there will always be problem. Don't forget that the APC that took over from PDP came about as a rainbow coalition of different interest groups. And that particular interest group are now assuming power. The problem of victory is much more than that of defeat. That is what we have to know. This is the problem of victory, given to a party that is made up of different interest groups. Then you have different schemes, and you also have different
That's what Alabi Sama called the tragedy of victory.
That is the tragedy of victory. So what we have now is that, except if we make up our mind that we are going to live with the imperfections that are so glaring in the body politic and move ahead. It is either we make up our mind that we want to live with that imperfection, whether that living with that imperfection will now lead us to another perfection. That's another story for the day. But the question I keep on asking people is that we have students, we have youths all over Nigeria. There are cases of people that get to 400 level in the university. The moment the university system discovered that the WAEC that you use to secure admission is fake or is forged, you will lose your studentship. You wear your academic gown. The moment you enter the Senate, you are out as a student. If it takes 5 years to detect that thing. But unfortunately for us, because the youths are watching us, that's why I say we have to make up our mind to live with this imperfection and move ahead. Anyway, there won't be any legacy to leave back for the children. Because the question I keep on asking, when we start narrowing everything to the president, does it mean that the Minister of Works will not be able to supervise contractors? Does it mean that Minister of Education will not be able to make sure that the university system is well run? Does this mean that the Minister for Housing will not build more houses? But when we now narrow everything to politics, it means without playing politics, we are not capable of solving any of Nigeria's problems. Without playing politics, with everything, then we are not capable of solving any of Nigeria's problems. So it's either we agree to live with the imperfection and see whether we can emerge.
Do we need this distraction?
Well, it's all politics. Politics is an interest-driven game. I always say it. And the one who triumphs is the one who thinks he can triumph. The one who triumphs is the one who goes for broke. So it is clear in this case that the executive is determined to go for broke. The executive is convinced that Bukola Saraki is not qualified to be the Senate president, and they are gunning for him. What I expect of Saraki is to go to court and prove that indeed he is as clean as a whistle. So time will tell whether it's indeed as clean
as a whistle.
I don't want to see unnecessary stalling of trial. Just go there and prove that, look, these guys are just trying to embarrass me. I have not done anything wrong. If he can do that successfully, I will give him Twali.
I think, let me just quickly take this call before we move on. Igwe is calling us from Ghana. Oh, I think we lost him. We lost Igwe. Moving on. Until last Thursday, nobody knew that the federal government was borrowing to finance its 165 billion monthly wage bill. Earlier in the year, the finance minister complained that the wage bill was too high and unsustainable, but she wasn't specific on how government was coping. But now we know. Now we know our debt profile is hopelessly growing and we might soon run out of an option. Borrowing to fund such a huge recurrent expenditure is scary. How much longer will Nigeria borrow to pay its workers? Is this the right path to tread? Let me start from you. Lekon. Yes, when she came to Lagos, the first place she said it was at the meeting with the newspaper proprietors of Association of Nigeria. She said that they have a wage bill of 165 billion naira every month for federal civil servants that they pay them. But she didn't tell us at that time that they were borrowing to pay. When you are borrowing to pay salaries, that shows that there's fire on the mountain.
Yeah.
Lekon.
Let me remind you that Dr. Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala also told us under the Jonathan administration that they were also borrowing.
And we called her names.
And we abuse her. This one, pool has come to shove. We are going to likely borrow more. My worry is this.
And we are bailing states out.
And we are building state.
Debt is
I think we are planning another 90 billion or thereabout. Now, my question, my issue is this. We are using loans, right? What are the implications to the economy? First, I would have wanted, somebody said the president must talk to Niger Delta people. We must talk to them. Pool has come to shove. We must sit down.
This is not the time for
and address
bombings.
No stonewalling. And you need to address the issues of those people to start with. Because if you don't win...
If it's possible for the president to go there himself and...
We've said it here that he should go there.
And hold talks with these people.
Diplomacy
the leaders
is also an instrument of war. You need to talk to people and negotiate. That is part of the business. That shows you know your job, you know your business. So part of the strategy is to resolve with the Niger Delta people.
So that we can earn more money.
So that we can earn more money.
The 2.2 million barrel
per
day.
My issue is this. There's even the implications. You see, when the federal government takes money, what it does is that it issues out bonds, treasury bills, and then it takes money from the system. What happens is that the businessmen will be crowded out. The private sector will be crowded out, and then interest rate does what?
Spikes.
15.96 right now percent. It goes up.
All-time high.
Already, the real sector is not doing well, and then you are crowding them out from where they can get money. So everybody is complaining there is no access to money, and then the federal government is now taking the money out. Do you understand? From the system. The economy is going to be stagnated very soon.
Sure.
And that's really scary. And that's really my major worry. I'm also worried about then there's something you need to understand. The people that are being paid in the civil service, there's a lot of people, square pegs in round holes.
Yes.
Technology has changed. Do you know there are some people who are PAMSECs, directors in government, who cannot even create a simple Word document on the system? They can't even use the computers. Talk of using, so modern management methods. So a lot of money is being wasted on dead woods in the civil service. The civil service is not efficient. It is not effective. It is not delivering. People are stealing money.
Oh.
I can assure you, every time, I think, was it just yesterday, which state will say they discovered 665
ghost workers.
Ghost workers. Do you understand? This thing keeps going. Who are doing it? The same civil servants. A lot of, I was listening to, I think we had a program about 2 months ago, and what I was talking about people who are not even receiving their pensions. I think it was Julia that was, people aren't getting their pensions. $165 billion naira to pay people who are at work. How about those who have retired?
I'm sure she didn't include those ones.
I'm really scared that is this economy going to move forward? By the time you have a debt overhang,
we're in trouble.
Local debt overhang, we are looking for trouble.
Today.
Well, I think we have been seeing it here. You see, what is more scary is the fact that 15 states in Nigeria are likely to be declared bankrupt. When the federal government, takes a meeting and decides to share money at the FEC meeting to states, if those states are unable to pay civil servants, it means that the money will not get to the people in the market. And most of those states generating IGR, people forget to know that if you don't pay salary, your IGR will drop.
Yes.
Because most of them are not doing agric. What they are doing is small taxes all over the place. Taxing market women, taxing civil servants, taxing taxi drivers. It is not really, they are not generating money. They are not doing it from agric. If it is from agric, the people will not have the impact. But if the states should collapse, what are we going to do? So the question now is, like I said, we still have to do, if it is not national conference, there has to be economic conference. Unfortunately, the interest group, the elites, the political class in Nigeria, they are so docile. They are so selfish. Because I'm telling you now, as things start now, only 12 states. Nigeria cannot do for more than 12 states. We don't need 36 states. If 15 states, if 27 states cannot do without going to the federal government, only Lagos State and 6 other states in Nigeria can stand up and say, without the monthly money handed from the federal government, can survive, which means the remaining 27 states, there's no need for them.
6 states, are they up to 6?
Borno State that says it has never failed in paying salaries. What else can they do besides paying salaries?
Salary, when there's no industry there.
There's
no
nothing.
roads.
Nothing. You are just paying salaries, and that's all.
As if that's the main business of
their
government.
business now.
In fact, that's the economy of the state. Do you understand?
So
Julie, looking at this 168 billion or whatever,
65 billion.
165 billion. If they bring in the private sector people to come and look at the people working there and look at the justification for 165 billion, you will see that at the end of the day, they might weed out 45% of these people or 50%.
It's possible, although 50% is quite high. I doubt if you can achieve that.
Because
that will be tantamount to sending almost everybody away. But the reality is, you see, our governments have remained cowardly. And that's why I always talk about Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I said it here the other day that this man, at the risk of not being re-elected, he carried out a right sizing of the civil service in Lagos State, and many people were asked to go. They fought him. I remember Ayodele Akele taking him to court.
Still agree
people, yes, he will never forgive him. Anywhere he goes, he abuses Tinubu. But the man has done what he felt was right, and he has moved on and handed over Lagos State, a healthier Lagos, a Lagos that you can be proud of. He has handed it over to other people. Yes, you can abuse him, you can say all you want about him, but he had one goal. He wanted a nimble and very effective civil service in Lagos State, and he achieved it. The Lagos civil service is a model in Nigeria, thanks largely to the effort of someone. We can't continue like this. If because you want to win the next election, you are refusing to do what is right now. That is the nature of a lot of our governors. When the situation is bad, it is bad. We must tell ourselves the truth. We called Okonjo-Iweala names. What did they not say about her? that she was spending, taking loans to pay workers. Adeosun is there now. Adeosun is doing the same thing. In fact, Adeosun appears to believe in just giving out bailout, giving out loans. They are already preparing a bailout for states. And that bailout is not going to solve the problem. I said it before they gave the last bailout. I said it that this bailout will not work. You get people bailout within 8 months. They are already owing 6 months salary again. What is the essence of the bailout? So, and what you are doing by this resource to giving people bailout is that you are accumulating the debt stock. The domestic debt is rising every day, and it has its own grave implications. We are not thinking about this. Adeosun has done her best to reduce the wage bill by 6.6 billion
every month for 3,000 workers.
She's boasting about that everywhere she goes, but we have seen now that 6.6 billion is nothing to 165 billion. Because 165 billion is huge. Let's face it. We must begin to look at the size of the civil service, not just at the federal level, but at the state level. If governors will muster the courage.
But Jide, let me ask you. Somebody like Rochas or Korocha did something like that in Owerri, in Imo State.
Yes.
The Nigerian Labour Congress descended on him.
Why wouldn't
they wanted to clamp the state down?
Why wouldn't they descend on him? Why wouldn't they descend on him?
For trying to
if out of 36 states, maybe they have governors forum. What do they do at the governors forum? What did they tell themselves? If you do it simultaneously, the labor, maybe it was the national leadership of labor that went there. They will expend all their energy going from one state to the other. It was because he did it alone. Others didn't join him. But I know that day will come. That day will come. We are talking about Oshomole not paying, paying workers regularly. But is he paying pension? Are pensioners not human beings? How many of those governors are paying pensions? Those of them who are paying workers regularly, go and check. Are they paying pensions? They are not doing the right thing. Look at what Ogbeni has done. Whatever you can say about that bearded man in Osun, the reality is he has seen the situation and he has called the workers, look, let's face it, this is what I can pay. I have suggested that repeatedly on this program to governors, but governors will prefer to play politics. If you can, this is what you can afford, the people can see, the workers themselves can see that they are confronted by this problem. So by the time you talk to them, you engage them, you tell them this is what the state can afford. It is better than you not getting anything in a whole month.
He's doing ever since that.
He's been doing that, and nobody. Have you heard that the workers quarreled with him again? All those so-called rallies that people were holding at that time, they've stopped because the man found a formula to solve this problem. He has quietened the whole noise that we had some months back. Why can't some other governors too say, gentlemen, we can't pay more than 50% at this time. Let us do it. Nobody is talking about that because they are already thinking of the next election. If we do it, we will not win the next election. But the reality, and let me tell them the truth. All of those governors owing 6 months, 7 months, and they have no shame to do something about it. The evil day that you think you are postponing,
they will give them Gabriel Suswan's treatment.
They will give you the Suswan treatment.
In Benue State.
The way people fought Suswan.
9 months, he was owing them, and he wanted to put some...
Even where it was clear that Suswan was winning the election, they went to the polling...
he contested for the Senate, he lost.
They went to the INEC, the local government headquarters of INEC, and set it ablaze. Because they knew he would win from there. He was already winning. But when people rise up against you, this is what you get. So the evil day that they are postponing will come sooner than they expect. People must do the right thing. And I believe that in the federal civil service, if you have this figure, the way to cut it down is not simply to look at ghost workers. There are people in the system, just as Lekon said, who do not deserve to be there. That's why that short man who is the governor for Kaduna State, if he was faced with this situation, Nasir by now would have sent some people packing.
Honestly,
he would have done it. Because
radical. He doesn't care what you say.
yes, it's
Don't
just
move
what
by
it takes.
emotions.
Let me tell you, Ayo, Nasir began to use the TSA even before the federal government. Nasir was the first to start using the TSA even before the federal government.
Action, Governor. George is calling us from Benue State. Hello, George. Hello, George.
Yes, Ayo.
Yes, George. You're on.
Yes, Ayo. Good evening.
Thank you for joining us, George. I can barely hear you, George. We can't take you. You have to try and call back. Lekon, I think it's the way to go. The federal government can't say because they don't want to downsize, they don't want to offend people.
Be collecting loans.
Be collecting loans. This is the first time I'm hearing that you collect
on recurrent.
on recurrent.
It will not generate anything.
It's like 2016 budget is dead on arrival.
You just put your hand on the button on recurrent expenditure that will not generate
It won't
anything.
generate. Infrastructure
The best
will
you can
generate
have
something in the end.
is a civil servant reinvesting his salary on what? That cannot take him home in the first place. There is inflation. There is increased interest rate. You have gone to the market recently.
15% inflation.
15.96%, 16% really. Just so
Double digits.
It's 16. You know.
We are
So,
family
and
placed
then
ourselves in
let
the
me tell you
double-digit,
something.
There.
With the indirect deregulation, devaluation of naira,
Yes.
our GDP has fallen from $500 billion to about 350, 360. So it's a lot of issues coming at the same time. If deadwoods need to go, they have to go.
Yes.
They have to be asked to go. Especially these
Nothing
people
will
who are
happen
stealing
if they
money.
have to. Heaven will not
Nothing.
fall.
Many of them are stealing money. They just
At
sit
least
down
30
there. They
senior
don't do
police
anything.
officers will go now with the emergence of this man.
DIG.
You know, can you imagine? They just push people up and then they draw so much salaries, suck that they are in a position to begin to steal more money. And they are deadwoods. They are not coming with any creative.
They have no value.
Yes, they are not coming with anything creative. They are not coming with new ideas.
We do it
They
with-
can't even use the new technology,
with quota
new
system.
technique, new management
Not on
method.
merit.
They don't even know them. And then these are the people who are running
You
the
employ
bureaucracy
you
of this
employ
country.
5 drivers to 2 cars.
Do you understand? How can you
To be
I mean,
alternative.
I don't understand that. And even I was a civil servant. A driver in the civil service is supposed to be driver mechanic. Now you now have drivers only. What is the business of somebody who is just a driver, who is not a driver mechanic in the civil service of Nigeria? Whether at the federal level or the state level or the local government level. It is not
Thomas,
expected to be.
It will not have a utilitarian
see the man
value.
who drove a minister who died the other day.
We just wasted the minute.
Just ordinary fixing tires he could not do. And then the man died, his wife died, his son died, and he is alive. Do you understand? So somebody who is not coming to his job with the requisite qualification.
There are so many of them. There.
So many of them.
So
Those
I think
certificates.
on the whole, whether we like it or not, I think the federal government has to make up its mind.
Has to make
whether
a
it wants
decision.
to sacrifice economic expediency for political gain.
Yeah.
All these things are just political gain.
Yes.
If the federal government should take the bold lead, if after sacking 43,000 ghost workers, after detecting 43,000, you still have 165 billion, which means there's something that is
Something
seriously
is
wrong. If the government can be determined and bold enough, all the state government will follow. Let the workers come on, let the
them
NSC
record
come
the
on.
noise.
At the other time when Nigerians knew that the fight against increase in premium price, they did not follow them. Because the larger, if 165 billion, the budget for the works department for works this year is just 200 billion. And yet you are spending 165 billion on people, majority of those who are idle,
Who are not
who
working.
are just pushing
Just go
fire.
to the,
Who
so
are
about
just pushing fire, who are not doing
about
anything.
2 or 3 months ago, the mother of a minister died.
And about 10 people or 20, they follow him to his village.
Wait, see, the ministry shut down for about 2 or 3 days.
Go to Abuja on a Friday,
People
you
were
won't
not
meet anybody
working
there.
because the mother of a minister died. In this era of change,
So I think the president has to take a decision. The president has to be bold enough to
the thing is,
to take a decision.
We are, for me, I'm not surprised that this is happening because the records show that our earnings have gone down.
It's quite obvious.
We lost in the first quarter of this year. We lost. The CBN reported that we lost 205 billion. You know, in the same period last year, we earned 864 billion. But this time around, we earned only 305 or so.
That's right.
So look at even the gap. First quarter of last year, we earned 864. Now we are earning 300 and something. So how will it not reflect in virtually all facets of our life?
Let me take George before we go. Hello, George. George is calling for the second time. I wish your line is clear now. George from Benue State. Oh, George, it's still not clear. Maybe you try us tomorrow. Oh, thank you, Lekon Shotet. Thank you, Tunde Abaton and Babajide Kolade Otitoju. Thank you for making today's edition a really great one. And that's all on Journalists Hangout today. Join us tomorrow for another exciting episode of the program. Watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11. You can also watch TVC Journalists Hangout on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Zubaku. Bye for now and God bless Nigeria.